Hello, everybody.
What's up, happy people?
So we're back, and we're going to be discussing another one of our TBR tropes. So my book is 5 Feet Apart, and JL's is Perfect Chemistry, and we are going to be discussing. It's like two star-crossed love kind of things. It's like the Romeo and Juliet from modern days. So JL is going to start off first because her book is actually something she's read when she was younger, from what I understand.
Yes, I found Simone ELKELES by accident when I was in high school. So, I just kind of happened to come across her while I was looking around for some books when I was first getting into like Kindle reading and everything like that. Actually, pre-Kindle. Kindle hadn't even been a thing yet. This is back when the Barnes and Noble Nook was first coming and like being a big thing.
Wow, that
So
is old. I
yeah, and
remember
this
the
was
Nook.
back in like 2012. Yeah, 2012. So this trilogy of books has been yes, there's I'll get more into details about the number of books and everything in just a second. But this book series has been a part of my life for a very, 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 very long time. Anyway, shout out to Simone ELKELES. Absolutely adore this series. It's by far, if I had to rank it, as far as
Like if you were ranking it 1 out of 10, what would you rank it?
as far as like being my favorites.
Well, I mean, okay, 1 out of 10 for the trope. How would you place it in the trope scale, and then 1 out of 10 for just regular book?
Trope level. For me, I definitely would say it's in the high numbers of like I would say about a 9 for me. It's
I'm
not a
dying to
perfect.
read it. JL keeps talking to me about it. I have it on my to buy list whenever I get paid. So it is something I'm definitely going to be diving into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Like one of my absolute favorites. Like I said, it's one of those ones that I I'm guilty as sin of writing fan fictions for.
I think everybody writes fanfics about stuff, but I mean, I've seen there are apparently trailers for this book series on YouTube that
Mm-hmm.
JL had me watch. And I have to say, after watching the trailers, I was like, I'm sold. I'll watch it or read it. Watch it. Read it. Why didn't they make it into a movie or something? Why did they do this like for Netflix?
I know, and that's actually something that I think was in talks for a little while. I don't know where they're at as far as that goes. Maybe down the road, that could be a discussion question that someone could bring up to Simone ELKELES. But I mean, that's just something we're kind of waiting to hear back on as far as
I mean, I think it would be a killer kind of like you could definitely do it as
absolutely.
films, but you could definitely do it as like a really, really, really good series.
Like, I think it'd be good, like, either CW or Netflix probably would be where I would probably put it at as far as like maybe
I mean,
maybe
Apple TV has done some really good stuff lately with like series and stuff like that.
I've never been able to watch anything on Apple TV to know if there's anything good on there. So that's why I said were the ones that I picked out.
The only thing I've ever watched off of Apple TV, I've never actually watched it, like watched it, but the only thing I've the only thing I've watched off of it was Defending Jacob. It was based on a book by a different author, but I mean the production value looked good. I mean, I just don't think Amazon would be good. It doesn't seem like that's kind of like their shtick typically.
Not with the style, especially with the background, which I'll go ahead and go into. So The main background of Perfect Chemistry, it takes place in Chicago. It's kind of like a wrong side of the tracks set. It's about a popular girl named Brittany, and she's got like this picture perfect life. She's blonde, she's got all the friends, she's dating the jock. She's essentially, quote, perfect. And everybody wants to be her. She's got the Beamer, the best friend, the whole lifestyle and everything. Yeah, so she's got everything that she could want and more, essentially.
She was like Ariel, but for modern day. I have everything.
Yeah. And she's really a smart student, too. So you can't take away that factor either. So I know my young people, you probably might remember this from being back in my age and everything. Think kind of like Geek Charming with what's her name? What's her name? The popular girl, but she's also like really smart, but she hides it really well because she's still trying to win the Blossom Queen title and everything, and she doesn't want to be looked at as a nerd for being as smart as she is, kind of deal.
I know the type of movie you're talking about. I mean, it even does sound like it's got a little bit of like the Breakfast Club type vibe.
Kind of.
Even the smart girl in the Breakfast Club was really intelligent, but it was almost like she was purposefully dumbing herself down because it was
kind of, but there's also a deeper depth to Brittany that you find out a little bit later on. And now I'm going to introduce Alex, or Alejandro Fuentes. He goes by Alex because he basically gave himself a white name to get through school and everything because he just tried. Alex is just one of those guys. He's part of a gang known as the Latino Bloods. And that's where the opposite side of the track is. She's on the north side, he's on the south side. And their worlds collide and get involved with each other when they're assigned to be chemistry partners in their high school senior chemistry class. Their chemistry teacher decides, I'm not going to let you pick your assigned people, and I'm going to have you go by alphabetized. So, yeah. So they're paired up by how close they are because it's Brittany Ellis and Alex Fuentes. So E and F right there. So they're essentially having to go and do this together. Now, with this, there's some ridicule going on with his fellow gangster friends in the Latino Bloods who are like, bet you can't go and, sleep with her by winter break. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. So, bet you can't turn her into like a snow bunny by winter break, essentially.
Wow,
because that's essentially what they call the white girls who are into the Hispanic guys is the snow bunnies. He's got a best friend named Paco. Yes, his name is Paco, and I love him to death. He's kind of Riddick coded, if you want to think about it. He's kind of like Riddick meets Romeo's best friend.
Mercutio?
Yeah, Mercutio. In the story. So, he makes the bet. Brittany and him are starting the project. They're trying to come up with these kinetic hand warmers, essentially. So there's like a little bit of science behind it that they're having to figure out. Yeah, they're trying to figure out how they come up with a way to turn these like mitts into ways to warm your hands in some kind of chemical way.
What was the setting for this book again? Like what state?
They're seniors in high school.
I know, but what state? Like what area?
Illinois. And they're in
Illinois. Okay,
Chicago,
that
Illinois.
makes sense with the hand warmers. I was like, but yeah, that makes sense.
So they're kind of developing a friendship with being the partners in class and having to work outside of class, and he's also, got the bet going on with his gangbanger friends. And then there's the girl who's trying, like, Alex's ex, that's trying to
Yeah.
get back with him, and she's kind of also like the gang girl that kind of hooks up with everybody else too,
Oh, I'm thinking about the blonde.
simultaneously.
I'm thinking about the blonde from the other brother. That's what I'm thinking of. There's a
Yeah, I forget her name at the moment, but essentially when Alex ends up coming over to her house, the only way that she would agree to let him come over is when her parents aren't around, because she has to keep the appearance, the imagery, and everything. And mom's like, the perfect mom, the tennis clubs, essentially, like Real Housewives Beverly Hills kind of vibe. Like,
we don't want any bad elements around here, Brittany. You have to keep the
yeah,
house just,
like,
like
you
people are
don't
watching.
want anything to ruin your image. Your image is the most important thing that matters here in this sense. Well, come to find out, Alex learns that Brittany's not as perfect as she appears to be in school. She has a sister with a disability. Her name's Shelly. And she's got like a caretaker that stays with her and everything. Sorry, I'm moving around.
You're fine.
And like, she's I forget what the disability was, because I'm trying to go off of muscle memory here. I did not come fully prepared, so I do apologize.
Okay, like let me here. I'll do research while you're talking.
So, because of Shelley's imperfections, that's why there's so much stress on Brittany by her mother to be perfect and to have that image, which adds that extra stress onto Brittany.
Cerebral palsy.
Yep, cerebral palsy. Thank you. So he's really starting to see her more as, like a human, and then they form that deeper friendship and connection, ending up falling in love with her. She inevitably finds out about the bet. And I think it was close to Halloween that she finds out about the bet. And things kind of blow up in everybody's face. And then Alex ends up getting involved with trying to get out of the gang, because he doesn't want to be in the gang anymore. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He essentially wants to get jumped out, because he got jumped in because he's also a legacy. His dad was a part of it, and they also kind of threatened Brittany. So with that, he's trying to protect his mom, his brothers. She ends up going and seeing like part of his life and getting involved with his family. It honestly is so well written, and by far, you're gonna probably, with you reading it, you're probably gonna think it's, like, oh, total YA and whatnot, like, kind of like not quite, the writing like you're used to with, like, more of the adult fantasy. But with the type of audience that she writes for in this, she does an excellent job writing these characters and this story for her target audience demographic. And essentially, this book series, like, has stuck with me like how Ravenhood has.
I'll be honest with you. No, reading some of the finer points and the finer details of this series, As soon as I started reading into a little bit of it, I was like, "No, I know where Ravenhood came from." Because it's very, very kind of like you can see the progression in your reading from Perfect Chemistry in that trilogy on into the Ravenhood series by Kate Stewart. So I was just kind of like, I see where you're at. You're like, this is like the beginning stages.
Yeah. So this is exactly. So essentially, this is the kind of series that led me to finding Ravenhood later on down the road in life, and it's just stuck with me. Like, and later on in the books, you end up going into book 2, which was Rules of Attraction, and then the third book is Chain Reaction, and those are about his younger brothers. Book 2 about the middle brother named Carlos, and the third book being about the youngest brother, Luis.
Luis
Oh,
is
yes, I see you fanning yourself over there.
Carlos is by far, like in the trailers, Carlos by far is the better looking one. Alex is but Carlos is like, hello. The little brother is just kind of like, what happened to you? Did all of the hotness genes get left out on the other two? Because
Luis has, I'll tell you what, Luis's story and the plot twist in book 3 about Luis, you're not going to see that shit coming.
all I can say is I hope at some point he develops that hot gene because it's
He
very
does. He Okay, you have to understand, the guy who portrayed him was like very early 20s, so he doesn't. Yeah, he was a youngin.
Wow. Wow.
So like those were like essentially like starting acting things for him. He's gone and done like several things afterwards, like TV gigs and stuff like that too. So he has like grown, matured, and everything like that.
I actually sent JL a book cover that I saw whenever I was doom scrolling through Amazon. I was like, doesn't this look like the Alex Fuentes guys from the book that you were showing me? I shit you not. It was like 1-to-1. I was like, that looks like the same dude.
Yeah, and funny enough that you mentioned that. The actor who portrays Alex in the trailers, you're gonna get a kick out of this little fun factoid I learned. He actually played the groom in the Katy Perry music video for Hot and Cold.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's him.
Katy Perry went
What?
to space. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I'm not even going into that mess. I think it's stupid.
I know. I was just like, I wonder how Orlando felt about that.
I think it's fake.
He's probably like, so did we re up on the life insurance before this happened?
I think it's fake because there's no way you could open it up on the inside.
No effing way.
Yep.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
He's just a
shitting
lot
me?
tanner in the music video.
Oh, we screen sharing some shit here, people. Like, just let me find the right one. There it is. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Look. Like, the smolder is strong with this one. Look at me. He's just like, yo, you know you like it, baby.
You're awful.
I'm not right in the head. But
You really are.
damn, somebody grew up well. I was just like, fuck. Hello, Alex. God
Yep.
damn.
Alexander F. Rodriguez.
Yeah, make you want to learn Spanish.
The one who plays Carlos is Giancarlo Vidrio.
Dude, she's better with the pronunciations than I am. I would mangle that shit.
And Gabriel Chavarria is the one who portrays Luis.
So what would, if you had a favorite like quote from this book, what would it be? Can you think of one?
Oh gosh. Favorite quote. You make me look it back all up on the frickin'.
I'm trying to sit still, but this chair rocks, and like my therapist has mentioned that he thinks I might be on the autism spectrum because I like rocking so much. He's like, that's your
Hun, you're
thing."
speaking to a fellow one that already knows this. Oh gosh, you made me go all the way back to my
I'm
Goodreads.
sorry. I'm sorry. But I mean, I was just curious because like
No, absolutely. No, don't apologize. I'm just trying to some of the quote there's so many good ones.
like would you go as far to say as like this could be like the begin like this was your dipping a toe into books like Ravenhood? Because I do see kind of it's not like let's not get it
Yeah.
twisted. This is children. This is young adult. That the Ravenhood is not young adult. Okay, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I can see the similarities that would lead somebody like if you like this series, you would like Ravenhood. I mean, a lot of people do that where they'll find a more adult version, but then they'll backtrack through their reading history as a kid and be like, "Oh, now I know why I like this." Because I'll
Oh,
admit there were some things that at first when I started reading ACOTAR, I was just like, "I don't know, this is kind of weird." But then the more I looked back through like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, all of the Disney stuff, some of the classic stuff, it was just kind of like, I get it. Especially like the Great Expectations type deal with a lot of it.
oh, here it is. This one. This was it. This was it. This was the oh yeah, this one. All right, you ready? If there's one thing I learned, it's that nobody is here forever. You have to live for the moment, each and every day. The here and the now. Sorry, the here, the now. One of the things that makes me who I am is the loyalty I have to people I hold close to my heart. But wishes are only granted in fairy tales.
That is good. That's a damn good quote. Fuck. That made that fucking hit harder than I thought it would. That went like really introspective. It's like wishes only exist in fairy tales. Which I mean, I'll be honest, I'm actually really glad to hear a comment like that come out of a book like this because it gives realistic expectations. Like, yeah, you're reading something that's essentially fantasy, but you're still giving the reader like the reality check of like, don't think this is the norm.
But so essentially, there's also a character named Isabel. Oh man, if you want to have like a bad bitch bestie to have that's on the south side in the gangs, not the annoying ex-girlfriend one, the
Right.
like bad bitch bestie in the
Mhm.
gang, Isabel is the one to have. Isabel by far is one of my favorite female characters in this book. No, essentially not in like Brittany's awesome. Brittany is an awesome character, but as far as side characters go, Isabel's that bitch. You're gonna like her a lot. She essentially, she's kind of like Danica, kind of like with the attitude and everything. Like really, like kind of gives off the vibe of like fuck her and find out, bitch.
She's essentially the psycho best friend. Like,
Well, she's not Brittany's best friend. She's not necessarily a best friend to Alex or anything like that, but she's a part of the gang. Like she's associated with them.
she's a psycho acquaintance. She's
Not
psycho adjacent.
necessarily even too much psycho. She's that really good friend that if you want the honest truth from someone, go to Isabel.
So she's like the one that's like the unvarnished, like, no girl, those jeans make your ass look so bad. Put them back. We all need one.
And then the other books, they're just damn. And I feel so bad for her too, and I can't say anymore because I want you to read it because it's gonna suck.
I love how I told JL after we discussed like me reading these books, I was like, you do realize that every series that you recommend to me, just about every single series has some form of severe emotional damage, which for
But
anybody who
you
doesn't
you have to remember, a lot of the book series I've recommended to you so far. When have you stopped thinking about them?
a good point. I still cry when
That's
it
how you
rains.
know you have a good book. Is if
I
there
still
is
cry when
something
it
you can't.
rains. Every time it rains, I DM her. I'm like, your fault.
No,
With like a crying emoji.
nope, not my fault.
Well,
Not
what
my
am I
fault.
supposed to do? Start tagging Kate Stewart and be like, your fault? No.
Speaking of Kate Stewart, side questing here for a minute, people. We are excited to announce that we are going to be seeing Kate Stewart in person coming June.
I am going to make an epic journey from Tennessee to South Carolina, and I'm not gonna lie, it makes me a
Yeah.
little bit nervous. So, like, if at any point in time I get lost, everybody better have their phones on because I may need help. But, like, yeah, I'm gonna be driving instead of flying, which I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be different. I've never really driven this far. I haven't even driven to Nashville alone, and I'm gonna drive to another. I don't do things by halves. I'm not a very wise person. I don't do things
Well,
by halves.
okay. To be fair, we looked at multiple different options for her for that. But yes, so Kate Stewart's going to be in my hometown for the tour for her next book release, and I'm super duper excited for that.
As
So,
soon as she told me that she was gonna be there, I was like, "So does that mean I get to come visit?" So immediately, like, found the one that she was talking about, reserved a place in it, and I was just like, "Okay, I guess I'm driving to South Carolina." So I have to, like, save up all my money and everything like that, but that means I have to she has wanted me to do this, and this was a plan to do at some point, but now I don't have a choice since I'm gonna be meeting Miss Stewart. Now I'm having to reread all of the Ravenhood series, and I have to fucking read the finish line. I don't like it. I don't want to, but I have to. I have to read everything and Dom's book, which I've already been warned yet again, emotional damage. So I'm just like,
well,
yay!
it's gonna cover everything of his story and a little extra.
I'm still waiting, and my number one question, if I get to ask her anything while she's like scribbling, is gonna be like, "So are we getting Sean's book? Please tell me Sean's getting a book. Give my little ray of sunshine a book, please. You can make it like 300 pages. Just give me a little Shawnee. That's all I need." Because Sean is my happy place. Like we've talked about this. Like Dominic is the one you religiously, but Sean's the one that's just like, yeah, anytime you feel like it. I'd put a ring on that. I'm sorry, Cecilia missed the boat. But so, like, out of the trope, if you were judging in the trope, how did this sit for you looking at it as a star-crossed love? Did it fit the trope well,
It
or did you think
definitely fit the trope because if you think about it, the star-crossed love trope is that similar to that of Romeo and Juliet because you've got the north side, south side, two houses that essentially hate each
literally?
other. So, like the Capulets and the Montagues in Romeo and Juliet, you have two completely different people being forced to work together. So, you also have some forced proximity in there involved. So, they have to work together, even though it's not really what one or the other really wants to do. So, essentially, it covers a couple different tropes, but as far as the star-crossed, heck yes, it fits perfectly with the star-crossed. And wait till you get to that ending, because girl,
Well, I told JL if I have to read these books, she has to read 5 Feet Apart. So
Oh, I promised I would.
for all of you who don't know, this is a book that was made into a film, and it was actually directed by Justin Baldoni. And Justin's wife was actually one of the characters in the film, which was pretty cool. But I mean, everybody recognizes Cole Sprouse, and this is Haley Lou Richardson. I think it's Richardson. Yeah, she did an incredible job, in my opinion, embodying Stella, who actually, like, I was reading this book before I went to go pick up my puppy, Stella, and that's how she ended up with the name Stella. But this is one of those books that, like, gets kind of compared a lot to the books that are like 5 Feet Apart, Paper Towns, you know, Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's kind of like in that genre.
You
Everybody
mean
kind of like tries to
you mean
compare.
oh no, not you're talking about 5 feet apart. You started comparing it to 5 feet apart. Did you mean
Oh, forget The Fault in Our Stars.
that's it?
My brain stopped. But yeah, everybody tries to like, inevitably there's like, no offense to John Green. I love his writing. Well, at least I love The Fault in Our Stars. I haven't read anything else. But I will say this: if I had to judge this against The Fault in Our Stars, it's just better, in my opinion. It's better. There's less at times. There's a lot of filler in books like that. It's kind of like you have the main story, the main love story that you're trying to track, but you have to like pay attention to your side characters. But there's this place where there's so much going on, you have to dig for the, the main plot line. You don't have to with this. This is following it has dual perspective chapters. So their chapter titled Stella and Will. And basically this is a story of two kids who have CF, so cystic fibrosis. I learned about this book from a YouTuber. His name is Morgan Grindstaff. He's known on all of his socials as Cystic One. So if you don't follow Morgan and you want to learn more about CF or life as a CFer, he has CF. Go check out his content. But this book really kind of caught my attention. I've seen all of the different trailers and stuff like that for the films and everything, but I mean, it's really one of those films that it touches you in every way possible. So, the main character, like I said, her name is Stella Grant. The main male character is Will Newman. And Stella comes from a family that is currently in what I would say a transitional stage in life. They had a death in the family. Abby, Stella's older sister, she died on a Abby was always kind of doing like travel vlog type stuff, and she would go on like adventures. So she was skydiving and or no, waterfall jump, cliff jumping. That's what she was doing. And she landed wrong and broke her neck. And whenever all of this was found out, Stella was doing better with her CF. She was in a much healthier kind of space because essentially there is no cure for CF. Since this book has come out, there have been new progressions in medication and stuff that seem to be doing worlds of good for everybody who's afflicted with this disease. But it it really does. It hits hard. Abby's death really hits her hard and hits her family hard. It's essentially that kind of wrecking ball moment in Stella's family where everything is solid and good, but then one kid dies, and it's the one they don't anticipate dying, which is something that we see with books, like I said, with like The Fault in Our Stars. It's always the one you don't think that's gonna, not make it that makes it. But one of the things I did like about this is that they both they live. Both of them are still alive. They don't die. Um, but it's kind of that separated by circumstance type thing. Like Stella's family is broken. Her mom and her dad have divorced. They're living. it's kind of like the mom and the dad still love each other, but they're being pulled apart because of their grief. And there are moments where Stella becomes so hyper fixated on her condition and on what it takes to manage her condition and get her condition better and like get her, she wants to be the best that she can be, and she denies herself any form of weakness or any form of vulnerability or connection. She's like, no, I have one
She wants
friend.
to be the perfect specimen of health. That way she can just
She
skate through life without really experiencing life.
Yeah, she literally says at one point in the film and in the book. Now I'll show you. This is her friend. That's Poe. That's her bestie.
Oh God, Moises! Moises Arias, everybody! Lorico!
He's a sweetie pie, but like, that's
If you
like,
ever watched Hannah Montana, you remember Rico.
I have never watched Hannah Montana, so I'm behind the ball on that one.
He played Rico, and Rico was like by far he was like the little evil character. He was like the ha ha ha, like evil little kid because his dad ran the Shake Shack, so the little surf shack, and was like the menace to everybody. Like, you remember Roger from Sister, where they were always going, "Go home, Roger."
Yeah, kind of like
So
Urkel.
kind of like that. He's much younger and more annoying.
Now I'm gonna have to check into this. But one of the things, okay, so Abby was an artist. So if you there are two different covers for this book. There's this one, which is the film cover, and then there's a more artistic version of the cover. The artistic version, if you can get it, get it. It's an art piece done of lungs that are flowers, and it's a piece that was meant to be Abby's, that she gave to Stella. And Stella, that is like sacrosanct to Stella. Nobody fucking touches her stuff. Stella is also a YouTuber. She does a YouTube channel. She does live streams and posts videos about her kind of her journey through CF, and she's trying to get to the point where she can get a lung transplant because there is no cure. And if you get a lung transplant, it'll probably only last you about 5 years. But within that 5 year period, you can live more like a normal person than you can with all of the meds and all of the procedures and everything else that they have to have. Stella, when she's staying at the hospital, which is called St. Grace's, um, she has been there a little over, she's been to this hospital over a decade on and off throughout her entire life. It's where she met Poe. Um, and she has there's a really good quote where she says that about 70% of the time her life is normal and she's in control of her life. And then there's the 30% of the time that the CF is in charge of her life. And it's that 30% that affects the 70 the most. So she's constantly Stella is very like me in a way. We're very anal retentive. This girl lives her life by checklists. I shit you not. She has a checklist. She has a major and a minor checklist, and she has her daily checklist. And when it comes to like, she becomes so OCD, and it's like a projection of her trying to control everything because of what happened to Abby. She's like, if I can control everything around me, then nothing bad can happen to my family. If I can control everything, whereas like with Hazel in The Fault in Our Stars, Hazel's just like, I'm doing my own thing. I don't give a shit, whatever. Hey, Stella is all about like, no, I need to know what's going on, who's going where, this sort of thing. Like, it's this hyper fixation on trying to keep everything together so she can not cause more damage to her family, because she thinks if I live, then mom and dad will realize that everything's good, they'll get back together, and we'll have a family again, it'll be fine. But she still struggles with like survivor's guilt because like Abby would send her videos when she would go on these adventures. It was kind of like an understanding that like Abby was living life for both of them, essentially. Like she was doing all of the stuff that Stella wanted to do and things like that. Um, her dad is a musician. Uh, Abby and her dad used to sing together during shows. She has two besties named Maya and Camilla. She's known them since middle school. Now, I will say this: Maya and Camilla, I don't like them. I don't think they're bad people, but I think they are shallow. I think they're about as deep as a fucking kiddie pool because the way they're written and then the way they're portrayed in the film too, which may be purposeful, I'm not sure, but they seem like they're having like their life is normal. So they're trying to keep their normal life separate from Stella's non-normal life. So living with a friend who has like a terminal illness, I'm sure definitely cannot be easy, but they don't really seem that dedicated to the friendship, if you know what I mean. Like they show up and they visit for like, I don't know, 10 minutes and then they leave and it's like, dude, you're about to be gone for like a month. You can't even stop and say hi a lot longer than that. They show up to try on swimming suits. And then once Stella's helped them pick out their smexy swimming suits, they're out the door. And it's like, hi, bye. And it just, I don't like them. They're not they're not great people. The main nurse that you'll run into, so there are two main nurses that get mentioned in the book. There's Julie, which is the character that Justin Baldoni's wife played because Julie is pregnant, and ironically at the time Justin Baldoni's wife was pregnant. So she's absolutely adorable and sweet. Then there's Barb, this lady right here. Barb is the most badass woman you will ever meet in a novel. She's the perfect mix of hard as steel but soft as silk. This woman literally watches she's the respiratory therapist for the entire floor that the kids are on. And she monitors everybody. Now there's this understanding, the reason why this says 5 feet apart is the rule with CFers is 6 feet. You cannot be within 6 feet of each other because the danger is being able to transmit your it's germs, but it's what is it called? Bacteria. There we go. My brain finally caught on. So every CFer has a different kind of bacteria, and it affects their lung function and the production of mucus in their body. So essentially, CF, what it is a production of a bacteria that causes an overproduction of mucus in your body. Like your nasal passages, your esophagus, your lungs, all of that has a normal amount of mucus in it for, lubrication and things like that. But with CF, there's such an overproduction that you don't oxygenate properly. So you're constantly having to clear your lungs of this mucus to get proper air, and it causes deficiencies in other places. So she's the one that's responsible for like the 6 feet apart type rule. And you have to wear a mask, and you have to have your portable breathing apparatus and everything like that. But you also have to do mandatory exercise, mandatory like meditation and things like that. So it's like all of this stuff that Barb has to watch over, and she talks to Will because she keeps catching Will either trying to break out of his room or him and Stella doing stuff that they shouldn't be because they both have CF and they shouldn't be that close. And she kind of gets pissed at one point and tells Will about a pair of kids that were on her floor that she was responsible for, that she let those two kids break the rule, the 6 feet rule, because they were in love and they just needed to be near each other and everything like that. And they died. So now she is hard when it comes to making sure that This is not going to happen. She literally threatens at one point to transfer Will to another hospital because of it. And he's just like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And of course, there's that one moment after this, that Will tries to push Stella away. And Stella's just like, you know what? Fuck this. And she makes this YouTube video and talks about all of the different things, dealing with CF. And she makes the decision of, CF has stolen so much from my life. It's not going to get to steal one more thing from me. I'm the thief now. And she's like, 1 foot, 1 fucking foot. I'm taking it back. So 5 feet apart. The pool cue that she uses when she walks with Will, a standard cue is 5 feet long. So he holds on to one end, she holds on to the other, and they're able to be together. And that's just 1 foot closer. But Will has a different type of situation. So Will, while he does have CF, he contracted a very contagious form of a bacteria called E. cepacia. And E. cepacia is a hardy bacteria. Like, it literally feeds on penicillin. So it's really, he's no longer on any transplant lists or anything like that because it's that bad. Like, they don't expect him to live. His mom, who is played by Claire Forlani in the movie, um, is rich as sin and refuses to give up, which he turns 18 in the book and in the film. And he tells Stella that as soon as I turn 18, the decisions are all mine. And I'm done with drug trials. I'm done with hospitals. We're living on borrowed air. It doesn't matter. Like, he's kind of accepted in a way that, like, he is not expected to survive. And it's almost kind of like that dark humor that you see with people that have that feeling of, yeah, I get it. I'm doomed. Moving on. That sort of thing. So she kind of makes a deal with Will because she notices that while he's there on that drug trial, he's not doing his AffloVest, he's not taking his meds properly, he's not exercising. He's just literally not doing anything he should be doing. And because that drives Stella absolutely fucking batshit, she makes a deal. You do your treatments for me, because him not doing her knowing that somebody is not doing something drives her to, like, her anxiety just goes straight through the roof. Like, she can't function. So she makes a deal with Will and is like, you do your treatments when I do my treatments, and we do them together, and that's it. And he says, fine, but in exchange, you have to let me draw you. And she's just like, what? He's like, I want to draw you. And at first she's like, no. And he's like, deal breaker. Then she gives in. And it's not that he wants to draw her and, like, draw me like one of your French girls. He's an artist, but he does a lot of cartoons and things like that. Like, at one point where Stella has to go in to surgery, which surgery is different for CFers than it is for us. For us, it's, not really that big a deal. But because they can't properly oxygenate properly, the whole going under sedation is like life threatening. Like, you could go under sedation and not wake up. So there was a thing that Abby and Stella used to do that their grandmother used to do with them. And it was the I love you, a bushel and a peck. A bushel and a peck and a
Oh,
husband.
from Guys
Like, they would
and
do
Dolls.
that. They would do that, and then they would, like, hook pinkies, or, like, they'd hook pinkies and then kiss their hand like that. It was the cutest thing ever. And she ends up having to go under for an infected G tube, which, if you don't know what a G tube is, you'll learn very quickly that, like, this is medically accurate in every way. It tells you everything, because there was a girl named Claire. I cannot remember Claire's last name. She was the consultant on this book and on the film. And Claire actually passed away. I think before the book was published and before the if not before the book was published, then before the film was made. Because I know I've seen footage of her talking to Justin Baldoni and the other people about what it was like to live her life. And she unfortunately, she I think what happened was, don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, but from my understanding, she got a lung transplant, but then her body rejected the transplant. That's what I think happened. I could be wrong, but I remember, a little bit about hearing about her, but there's tons of YouTube videos where you can see her talking about her story and things like that. Go check that out and learn more about this girl because she was literally the consultant for all of the CF factors on the book. And I mean, it was heartbreaking to find out that she didn't make it. But I mean, it's that life. Like, another thing, if you're a girl and you have CF, you can pretty much count out any chance of having kids. And I mean, it's the same thing for guys. Guys are sterile and women end up sterile because of CF. But hopefully now, because of the medications that are coming out, maybe that might change. It's anything is possible. I hope for the people that are afflicted with this, it does. But I mean, it's just a beautiful story about two people that are like polar opposites. Like Stella's really put together and has her shit together and does what she needs to do. Like she built an app for to like roll out so any chronic illness is keyed and coded into this app and it'll remind them when to take their medicines, when to do this, when to do that. Not just CFers, but any illness, diabetes, everything. She created an app to do that. Will, on the other hand, is sitting and drawing subversive cartoons in his room, not showing anybody. But it's grouchy sunshine. Not that she's complete sunshine. She's more like maybe a cloudy day, and he's pitch black because he's like Will constantly makes jokes about death and about dying and tries to like make it seem like it's not a big deal. But later on in the book, there's a point where Julie has come in and she's administering his medicine, and he goes, "What if this doesn't work? And what do I do from there?" And it's kind of like he at first, whenever he started going into these experimental trials, he had hope that something would work. And then the more it didn't, and the more it didn't, and the more it didn't, and the more it didn't, it just kind of ate away at that hope that life was still a possibility. So, like, when he asks Julie, like, "What do I do if this doesn't work?" And Julie just kind of looks at him and goes, "What if it does? What if it does? What if your life could be completely different?" And I mean, it's a beautiful story. Like, there's a moment where Stella is pissed about, Barb threatening to kick Will out and everything. So she's like, "You know what? Fuck this. I wanna live my life." I think it's actually after Poe's death that she decides, "I'm done waiting to live my life. I want to live. I'm taking my treatments to stay alive, but I wanna start taking my treatments to live my life, not just to, even level through life." So she decides she wants to go see the lights. There's a park down from the hospital that she can see from her window that always have like the twinkle lights and stuff like that in the trees. And it used to be a tradition that her and Abby would go every year. They would walk from the hospital down to that park and they would go see the lights. And since Abby has been gone, she's not done that. So that night she decides after Poe's passed, she's going to go. Hell or high tide, she's going to go. And when she does, Will sees her and she's like, "You can come with me or not. I don't care. I'm going." So he walks with her. And at one point, they're sitting on the edge of a bridge and Stella falls and when she falls, she hits the ice, and the ice kind of cracks around her, but that's it. Just you just hear the cracking noise. Will shifts to get off of the get back on the bridge and walk down, and by the time he makes it down to the bank, she's dropped through the ice. And because it's cold, she has a weighted coat, she's got sweaters, she's got gloves, everything just pulling her straight down to the bottom. And
I remember that
Will,
in the movie.
I do. It made me so sad. But like the beautiful thing, I will say this, Justin Baldoni did a fantastic job with the imagery of that moment, because in the book it's very much the same thing. Instead of seeing Will's arm or Will's hand reaching for her, it's Abby's. And Abby pulls her back to the surface. Basically, like there's a whole conversation in the book between Stella and Abby. It's almost kind of like Stella's in between alive and not alive in those moments. And Abby's like, "You can't go yet. It's not your time. You're not coming. You're not this side, sis. Get back on the others." And Will has to give her mouth to mouth, which is something very serious for a CFer, and especially him because he has that very serious bacteria that's literally eating his lungs. He has to give her mouth to mouth or she's going to die. So he does it. They bring her back to the hospital. There's a pair of lungs waiting on her. And he tells them before like they rush her away, I had to give her mouth to mouth. And they're like, if she ends up with B. cepacia, we'll take it from there. We'll take it from there. But you saved her. That's it. She doesn't end up with it. But he realizes now that she's got new lungs and she has a fresh lease on life, he feels like he would be dragging her down with him. So he decides to and leave so she can have a long and happy life, or at least, have a chance at something better now that she has the new lungs and can live a more active life. So he does this thing where he calls in his mom and she calls in every favor that she's had, and they string twinkly lights all over this area around the hospital, and he draws. It breaks my heart. He literally sits down and draws an entire notebook full of, it's like their story. It's like their love story, but it's in cartoons and everything, but then it's also in this really detailed, beautiful artwork that's all sketch. It's all sketched. And he is outside a window, she's inside, still intubated, and he's, telling her he loves her, but I have to do this, that sort of thing. And the thing that broke me was he was leaving, but he was like, I need you to close your eyes. And she's like, mm-mm, no. And he's like, I won't be able to leave unless you close your eyes. I need you to close your eyes. And she just kind of like blinks for a second and then closes her eyes really tight, and she's crying. And she opens them again and he's gone. And even though she's still intubated, she is crying hard. It's so gut wrenching. Now, in an alternative form of an ending, there was an alternative ending for the film. They run back into each other at one
Yeah,
point.
I remember that.
Will shows up and then she sees him and she walks over and they're both standing literally 5 feet apart. But homeboy looked rough. Homeboy looked rough. But it's one of those, he learns from her and she learns from him. It's almost kind of like his negative perspective on life somehow changes her negative perspective into a more healthier way of
Hopeful.
looking at things. Yeah. He's like, yes, that like he's cold and very calculated and very just like, this is what it is. Like when he says, don't take there's a line where he says, don't take it so serious. It's just death. We're never gonna make it out alive or something like that. And I mean, that's the truth. He takes everything at face value. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He's brutally honest. But there's a moment that is so gut-wrenching where there's like a picture. They're not that picture, but there's a picture of them at the pool. There's a pool at the hospital. Yeah, this scene. Oop, going the wrong way. Come on. There we go. Right here. So that's them on their date. And
I remember
they're
that.
they're sitting at the pool, and then they both kind of, I mean, she's got underwear on, he's got underwear on, so it's not like they're naked. But whenever they start stripping down and you see their G tube, you see the wreckage this disease has left of their body. But he just looks straight at her and says, "You are so beautiful." And you see her just kind of like start to crumple in on herself because she's never been told that by anybody. It's so, it's I guess the reason why I like 5 Feet Apart better than I like The Fault in Our Stars is because this is a more realistic love story. Like, Augustus and Hazel are a more idealized version. This is more visceral and real. It's more true. Where two people that knew at the very get go that them being together was not probably going to be possible, but they still tried anyway. It's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful film. You know, 10 out of 10. Do recommend. And go check out Morgan's content here on YouTube. Cystic1 is his handle on all of his socials. Morgan is the whole reason I know anything about this book, or CF. He has CF, and like he did a review of the trailer, and that's how I learned about the movie. And then I started watching his content, and I learned more about CF and about what that kind of life is. And he's an incredibly inspiring person. Like, could not recommend a better channel to go check out. But yeah, it'll take you on a ride. Let's put it that way. You're gonna go for a trip with this book. Mhm.
With both of them.
But if I had to say anything, like if I had to judge this out of 10 on the trope, 100%, at least a 9 or a 10, because it literally is two people that should be able to be together, that want to be together, that can't, just can't. On a likability scale, if I was just judging this book on its own, I'm trying to be realistic instead of just being, an ass kisser and being like, it's a 10. I'd say it's a good 9. A good 9. I'll be realistic because there are some things in here that may not be for everybody. So being realistic and giving it an honest, like, estimation, I'd say it's a solid 9 because it does deal with death. It does deal with disease, and it does deal with separation, divorce, things like that. So there are some really, this is YA, but even though it deals with really heavy topics, it's still something I would recommend to anybody to read because it broadens everybody's understanding, and it's never a bad thing to pass on something about a disease like CF, because a lot of us we stay ignorant of things that scare us. And I think learning and reading about stuff in books like this or The Fault in Our Stars, I mean, it's a way of broadening your view on people as a whole. Instead of seeing them as their disease, you see them as people.
Yeah, it's kind of like with Perfect Chemistry. You can't look at one person as just one particular type of way. Like, it's like with Mrs. Peterson, the chemistry teacher. She's not afraid to call out the Latino blood kids on their BS. Like, she's not afraid to, because she sees past, the colors. She sees past, I'm a badass and everything like that. She's able to look past them. She's kind of like the nursemaid from like Romeo and Juliet, the sort of. The
Oh,
one that kind of
I know who
helped
you're talking. I
them.
don't think she had a name, but I just nurse is what I knew that.
Yeah, I
Did she have
think
a name?
so.
I think she was just nurse.
Hmm. But yeah, these are the kind of books that you like. Both of them, both this one and 5 Feet Apart, are definitely books that I would say are the kind of books that leave you like really feeling so much, as far as like something that's gonna be a piece of you for like a long time. And those are honestly some of the best books you can have.
I agree. I think these 2 books are beautiful examples of things that they leave a mark, and good literature leaves a mark. I
Hmm.
mean, like, some of the great stuff that we've, grown up reading, like, I grew up reading classical literature, so, like, when I read Great Expectations, that was something that stuck with me when I still read A Christmas Carol every fucking year around
Hmm.
Christmas just because I mean, it gives you that kind of nostalgia vibe, and I think that's what, like, books like yours and books like this do really, really well. It's kind of like they remind you of being a kid at that time period because they're both based on kind of teenage era type situations. So you get to see, you know, Alex and Brittany kind of going through the whole cultural thing and then through the school thing and then the relationship thing. And then with Will and Stella, you see more of it's kind of a cultural thing, but I think in an aspect where it's like not very rich meets ultra rich. Because Will's mom is loaded. Like at
Yeah,
one
I
point,
remember.
oh yeah, like at one point, whenever she's leaving the hospital, she passes Barb $100 bill and is like, "You'll call me if anything happens, right?" And she's just like, "Bitch, I don't work for you." But I mean, she's nicer about it than I would be. But it's both of these books. I wish there were more. I wish there was more about Stella and Will. Like, maybe, Rachel, there are 3 authors that worked on this book. There's Rachel, Lippincott with, Miki, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Mikki, Miki Daughtry, and Tobias Iconis Iconis Iconis. But there were 3 authors on this. Can we get, like, something more,
Like an
please?
update
Yeah.
sequel, like
Like, part 2?
bonus chapter or like anniversary update.
I mean, I would love, like, even if it wasn't still Will and Stella, like, do something with Poe. I would love to read a book that's about Poe and about how his journey went. Like that, either that or tackle the other couple. Barb talks about the 2 kids that didn't make it. Do them. He's got
Yeah.
stories to burn here, people. Like we cannot tag Justin Baldoni. Otherwise, I would and be like, "Yo, book number 2, movie and book. Looking at you, sir." Because I will tell you right now, like I've never watched Jane the Virgin or anything like that. The only way I know anything
Oh
about that book,
God, you
I
just brought up
know,
a whole nother
I know,
hole, girl.
I
Oh,
know,
so good.
I know. Everybody's
Cause,
been like,
cause he was like he's telenovela watch apps.
but like,
Sorry, I had to.
it's okay. I'm not gonna lie. Like, uh, the only way I know Justin Baldoni is through the director. Like, he was the director of this film. But seeing the time and the dedication he had to it, especially his interaction with, the girl Claire, that was the content kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Inspiration.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I mean, she gave, like, it's kinda like fact checker. Like, she was the one that was kind of like, "No, that's not real. That doesn't ring true to, like, what actually is."
So
So,
she essentially was like, um, kind of
see,
like with the like when an author's got a certain type of thing that's featured in it and they want to make sure that it's accurate, they go through, look through it and be like, you might want to change this just to make sure that you're in line with it. You're
Content
close, but
representative.
you might want to
She
change
was
this
the
little smidge.
content representative, or like the touchstone if you wanna go simpler. Our caffeine is wearing off apparently because I can't remember the word even though I said the word earlier. Um, so my bad. But, yeah, like 10 out of 10, do recommend. I put the links for both books. So if you copy this down here at the bottom, and that's the link on Amazon to go buy Perfect Chemistry. And then I added the same one here for 5 Feet Apart. Like Perfect Chemistry is I think about like $11, $12 after tax. 5 Feet Apart is about it's like $8.91 plus tax. So they're not expensive books.
They're
Go
really
order.
not. They're
Yeah.
really good quality books. If you're looking for the rest of the books in there, you'll be able to find them, but I'll go ahead and name them off for you. Your first book in the trilogy is Perfect Chemistry.
Mhm.
Book 2 is Rules of Attraction. And book 3 is Chain Reaction. Now, last that I did a little bit of looking on there, Simone wants to write more in the universe for them. So, like, maybe somewhere down the line, we might get a sequel that, or a spin-off
Kinda
series that's about
I'd
next
wanna see the
generation.
brothers I'd wanna see the brothers as adults. Like, I'd wanna see the brothers as adults, seeing how they progressed as they grew up. Like, show me
Well,
the next stage.
well, I do know that at the end of the book, there in the epilogue, they do cover the kids. They do introduce kids like in high school and everything like that too. So like um so there is an untapped no well it's plenty there to be able to have like a sequel series, but has not been tapped yet, at least to my knowledge. But I would love for them to do like a sequel series and it be like next generation.
That would be
It would
awesome.
be fantastic.
Awesome. So, that is our trope TBR for this week. We have a few more books left. We have Leather and Lark, The Fine Print, Shatter Me, Caraval, Kingdom of the Wicked, Reckless, and P.S. You're Intolerable. Left on the list of books that we have to cover for the trope TBR. And as soon as we get done with that, we're going to load up some more tropes and see what we can find that matches those. But which one do you think we'll do next? Like, which trope
Not
do you think
gonna
we'll cover?
lie. Not gonna lie. I want to take a trip down to I want to take a trip down to hell.
Down to hell? So I'm guessing The Witch, Kingdom of the Wicked. All right. So that'll be where we go next. Witchy tropes. So if you guys have read or haven't read Kingdom of the Wicked, maybe pull it out, dust it off, and get ready. And we'll let you guys know whenever we're ready for that show. And until then, keep reading and light it up.
Light it up.